Hey guys, very good evening to all of you. Welcome to the video number 338. My name is Ajay, and in this video we are going to today talk about how to create the summary report using the pivots. And also these pivots are going to be special for us because we are going to automate the pivots. We are going to make the pivots using the VBA, and so this is kind of a I actually have received this the question from one of my subscribers, Mehboob Alam, and so Mehboob Alam actually has written this. Hi Ajay, I'm preparing a summary report using Pivot. Please find attached the Excel file. He had forwarded me the file in front of you. I want to automate my pivot so that I can create reports for all the clients coming in my database. Like I have client A, B, C, etc. And with every separate sheet, we should have their pivot. Right now, I'm creating separate sheet for every client, but I want to automate it. Please assist. So, point is what actually he's saying. I'll show you. This is his data where you can see that he has some names A, B, C, D, E, F, right? And there's some amount also. Now the point is he has created this pivot, right? So this is a very normal pivot which we have created. If I just take you to the show field list, so we have gotten this name in the rows and the values in the amount in the basically the values. What actually he's doing is he's creating these all pivot with these client names. As you can see here, here we have the A client, we have the B client, and then C, and then D, and then E, and so on, so we have all the clients actually coming here with this separate sheet, and also the data you see here that is only for that particular client. Here we are not seeing the entire data. If the sheet belongs to Ajay, then it has the only Ajay client data. If the sheet belongs to H, then it has only the data for the H, right? This Ajay, actually I have added it. So when the file was given to me, it had only A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, right? I was doing some actual thing in this, so I created this Ajay just to check the code. So now first of all I want to tell you, my dear subscriber, and of course to all people who are watching this video, you don't have to create these A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H sheets separately, right? I guess what you have done is you might have created first of all the sheet. For example, let me create the sheet like this, and then go to this B. This name already exists, so let me just name it, let's say AA and BB and CC, right? Now every sheet what you do is you create the pivot, right? Maybe to speed up the work, it might be possible. This is the approach you would have applied. Copy the pivot and paste the data here, and then paste the data here in every sheet. This is the manual task actually. And when you're coming on every sheet, obviously you're going to select only the sheet A data. This is how it looks like. You can imagine if you have 50 or 100 sheets like this is going to take a lot of time. And now you must be also thinking that this video is actually going to give you a lot of learning today, because we are going to automate this everything. So first of all, I'm going to tell you, don't need to create the sheet separately like this. What we are going to do is I'm simply going to start this from the scratch, and I'm going to actually copy this data, and I'm going to insert a new sheet, and I'm going to put the data over here, let's say. Okay, now let me close this. We don't need this. The very first thing which you want to do is close this. The first thing, guys, which you need to do is a choice. uh, you can use this pivot, and I am going to tell you a trick help of which all the sheets will be created itself, right? So from there you can start the VBA, or what you can do is, if you want to make the pivot also using this database, then that is also not the problem. You can go ahead and watch the video under the Excel pivots and the charts playlist, where I talked about how to create the pivots. That's again very simple. It's not going to take much of the time, but right now what I'm going to do is, you can also record the macro will also do for you with a little bit of additions. I've talked in my basic Excel VBA pivot videos. You can learn that, but right now I'm just simply to save the time, what I'm going to do is I'm to create the pivot for this. So I have my data on the header name, and I'm going to create the pivot. When you play uh, on this insert, this table gets automatically selected. If you don't have your data selected, if your cell is on the blank cell, and then you go to the pivot table, obviously the this would be blank. So you can select this, right? It simply says sheet 1 sign of exclamation and A2 to B27. So we have the data here. Now new worksheet, where you want to create, I want to create it the existing worksheet, and here I want to create the pivot. For example, when you create the pivot, obviously what you want, So this is what you were actually doing. Now this is not a good approach. I'll tell you the reason. Because you have to create the sheet of all these, items. What you need to do is you need to put them in the filter. Okay, I have uploaded a video also on this. It's, I think, under the Excel um, pivots and the charts playlist. It's not Excel VBA playlist. It's only uh, Excel charts and the pivots playlist, right? You can go there. But anyways, I'm telling you right away in this also how you can do that. Now, once you have the data, what you're actually going to do is, so when we have the data like this, now you see that I just show you here. Have the name here. Okay, when you have the name over here, what you can do is all of the clients which are coming. So from here you can select individually, all the clients. But this is not something we want to do. Instead of this, what we want to do is, I'm going to keep it as all. That's fine. What you do is you go to the design option in the analyze option. I'm using Excel 2016, so that's why I see this analyze. But I remember in Excel 2010 and 13 also, I think analyze option is not there. Maybe I think layout or something else. I don't remember the word, but you just need to click here. And there, in the leftmost corner, you would see here show filter pages. You need to click on this option. When you're going to click on this option, what will happen? The reports will be created automatically, using this filter page, which is this filter page. So all the clients will be generated. This is going to really, really look like a magic VB code. So when you here, you would have your show all report filter pages of what? Because you don't have any other item in the report filter page, so obviously you will select the name. But in case if you have some more items here, instead of the name, I mean, you have uh, uh, in addition to the name, you have some more items. All will show here, and you need to select that from which you want to create the report. So if I click OK, what will happen? All the sheets will be created automatically. Oh, wow, this is amazing, right? Isn't it powerful? You don't have to spend time on this. Even if you have 50 filters, you can create it. But remember, you will have to put this name in the report filter page. Right? If I just show you the field list, this is where you need to put it, and this option then you can use it, which is show report filter page. This is applies to in the Excel 2010, Excel 2013. I'm not sure about the 2007. If you are using, you can try it. I'm sure it will be there. Okay. By the way, don't use the 2007 because now it's a very old. In 2007 they launched it. We are in the 2017, guys. Let's upgrade the version, right? So you will get the benefits. So now you have all this. Now the point is, from here I'm going to start the VBA. You would ask me that why VBA? Because what happens actually, once I have my sheets created, it looks very nice, very pretty fine with this. The point is, this is not how the pivot I want as per the subscriber's question. What actually he's looking is, once the sheets are created, then there is also one twist, which is that you got to put this in this format. Name should come here this way, and in the name also, then it should select only A, not the rest of the items. And this is going to be the same for the Ajay, this is going to be same for the B, this is going to be same for the C, and that stuff, right? Guys, this is what we are going to do right away. I hope you will like this video. So you already learned that how to create the report pages. The second thing which we want to create is, I'll give you the idea. What is basically my idea before we actually make the code. The first thing, let me undo this, let me control Z it. This is how the pivot looks like. If you don't know really the pivot much, that's fine. But if you know how to create the pivot, you don't really know the rest of the syntaxes, like how to put the fields in the row column or the column, or how to you know uh, change the pivot formatting, design, everything. No, there's no need to learn that. Even I haven't learned it, right? Because I make the use of the macro editor. I record the macro, and from the macro I can do all the stuff. This is what exactly I'm going to do right away. So first of all, we will record the macro, and we will like to capture the code. So I'm going to record the macro, and I'm going to name it as dummy. Okay. In the dummy, what you need to do is, you just need to, this is how by default your pivot is created, right? What you need to do is, when you click here and you select the items, just keep your A on. Okay, I'm not selecting anything. Now what will happen, this time I go to the show field list, I'm going to drag this name over here. I will have my A available here. That's it. This is the beauty, right? Now if I go to the Ajay sheet, let me repeat what I have done. Ajay is already actually if I click on the Ajay, then you see Ajay is already selected. Okay. Once the Ajay is selected, I just need to drag it here and you will have your answer. Now, I think this is not going to work. What we can do is, instead of this Ajay, I mean selecting like this, why don't we just select this, select item, and then check Ajay, and then click, and then drag it here. I think it's being recorded right now. Remember, again in the B, we're going to select multiple items, and the multiple item I just have B, and then I press OK, and then I'm going to drag. So this is the same step we will have to do in every sheet. So let me go ahead and stop the macro. Now this macro will give us a good idea how we actually want to start it. There are a couple of things which you would like understand before we start and get to the code. The first thing is, now how do you know how many sheets you have created? Right now you have A B C D E F and then A B C D F H. So these are the only elements, and that is why you're able to actually see here the pivot A B C D F. But in the future you may have some more companies, some more names, XYZ, ZZZ, or whatsoever, right? So in that case, what will happen when you create this again? You're more, you will have some extra sheet. Right now it shows only 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So you may have 20 sheets depending upon your data. You will have a different data obviously, because if you are looking at this video and you want to apply this in your the project, you will have a different data. So that is why we are going to run the loop for each worksheet in worksheet. That is going to by default cover all the sheets. At the moment we reach to the sheet 1, we will exit from the macro. This is what we are going to do. Okay, so and then we are going to also take care of one thing, that first of all let me take you to the Visual Basic, and before I do that, just want to uh, do everything. Let me click on the undo. There we go. That's how data looks like. Okay, this is the original sheet. Now you have the data over here in this way. Okay, let's go to the Visual Basic and let's first of all find it out what is the code which is generated for us. So I go to the module, and this is the dummy code which the macro has recorded. Now in this macro there are a couple of things which we will edit and a couple of lines which we're going to add. First of all, you need to understand what is happening. Now guys, see that I have here pivot team coming over here. That's a pivot team actually. Now how, from where it is coming? If you select this pivot and if you go to the design view, sorry, in the analyze, you get to see the pivot 13 here. Every pivot has its name. Pivot 12, then pivot 11, and then pivot 10, right? The next time if I create the sheets, for example I just delete them, and now again I'm going to create, this is the sheet 1 where I have the data. I again go to the analyze and I'm going to click on this option and the show report filter page. I click OK. What will happen, the same steps will be repeated, but this time guys your pivot will be now 22, right? So point is, the code when you recorded it, it was pivot 13, pivot 13, 12, and then 11, then 9, and then 8, 7, 6, and so on. But this time now the pivot starts with the 13. Okay? So here I have the pivot 13, and if I'm going to just scroll it down, you see that the pivot 12 is also recorded. If you remember, I went to the Ajay sheet also and I did something. I changed the formatting. So, and the pivot 11 was also the one on the sheet B. I did that. So all those pivots, I mean the names are recorded, but the point is now your pivots are changed. So every time you insert this, every time you work on this data, new pivots will be created if you are creating them again and again. Right? So we will have to take care of this point as well, that which actually the pivot actually starts from the highest position. So what we can do is I can quickly come over here and I can see that the table is 22. So obviously from the 22 has to go down. It has to be 21, 20, and then 19, and then maybe 18, 17, till the time we are not on the sheet 1. Because the moment you are on the sheet 1, that means sheets are done. You don't have to do anything, and we will exit from the macro. So this is what we are going to do, right, in the worksheets loop. So you're going to define it as worksheet, and this is what we're going to do for each worksheet in worksheets, so that every sheet actually should be started. This is what we're gonna do for each worksheet in worksheet. This is a collection loop. If you are new to the VBA, please go ahead and check out my Excel VBA collection loops video. I have talked about them from the very basic level. So this is the loop I'm writing in front of you right now. You can see. Okay, this is the for next loop, and under this for next loop, this entire code will go. What we need is we will uh, uh, we will simply put it here. What we do not need, we're going to delete that. First of all, for each worksheet in worksheet, I have to start it with the first sheet. So I'm going to select the sheet name first of all. Okay. When you actually have selected the sheet, obviously your sheet would be A because of this feature which you use. You go here option and you click on the report filter page. Sheets will automatically be given the name you have here for of these items. So no need to worry about that. You don't have to do this manually. Once you have all these sheets, what we are going to do, I'm simply going to create a variable. I'm going to create another variable, comma, and I'm going to write here my sheet name, okay, as string because I have everything here string. Once the sheet is selected, what I will do, uh, after selecting the sheet, I will write here my sheet name equals to ws.name. This will give me the sheet name, which is going to be A, the first time when the code is going to run. Okay, it goes in the A1, and then what it does is in the add sheet, the pivot table which is 13, it selects that, and in the current page, it first of all choose all. All means every all, this all right, everything would come. Okay, do that, what we need to do is you need to change the program. Now your it starts from 22, and then naturally, the next sheet is it is going to actually descend. It's going to be 21, and then if you go to the next sheet, it is going to be 20. Right? So they're decreasing. So basically, your pivot actually starts from 14, and then 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Because pivot 14, why the pivot 14? Why not anything else? Because it is very simple. Pivot 13 was already created, which you have created. Now the next time if you delete these sheets and again create the pivots, next pivot will start from 23. So 23 would be given for this sheet, and then 24, 25, 26, and so on. Right? What we need to do is I need to identify what is the maximum pivot. It's basically the pivot number. So it is 22. So what I will do is I'm going to play a game here. I'm going to act very smart. So I'm going to write here pivot number. Let's say pivot number as long. And I know the pivot number. So I'm going to start here. Pivot number equals to 22. Okay, once I have this pivot number as 22, what I will do is this pivot table 13, the naming convention, pivot table remains as it is. I'm going to join it with the pivot number, so that will make it pivot 22, right? And then in this way we are going to make this dynamic. Now once the pivot number is created, this is also the another important point which you have to understand. Just enter this. Now in this case, if you look at this is a very important line. Every line actually they have made it visible false. Okay, but if you look at the point A, you don't see the pivot item A here. The reason is because A is actually visible when we recorded this macro. Because what we did is we first of all click here all, and then we select this checkbox, and we selected the Ajay. What happens, sorry, selected the A. So what happened, the item which you have selected here, then you're going to put it here in the field list called row number, right, which is recorded in the macro. That is not going to show in this code. Just all the items are coming. The reason is very simple. If you look at this code, it says that the pivot item, which is Ajay, should not be visible. B should not be visible. C should not be visible. D should not be visible. E should not be visible. Then F should not be visible, and E should not be visible, and H also should not be visible. What is visible, that is not there. This is what we want to actually do in this case. Now, point is this code also looks fine, but who knows, in your case, the code will be different, and however, in the future also you may have some more items getting added. Right now I just have A B C D E F G H and J. So maybe you can have some more items also. If you have more items, that means you will have to edit the code. So to prevent that coding every time, you can't come back to the code and keep on modifying. That's not the professional way. So we are going to create an array. I'm going to put all these A B C D E F G H in one array, and then we are going to do the comparison with this sheet. So wherever the my sheet comes, it should not be going in the visible mode, and for the rest it should be going in the visible, and it should be making it false. That's the trick, guys. That's what we want to do it. Okay? So what I'm going to do is you need to do one thing. You need to record a one more macro, which is we right now I'm in the front of you. I'm going to record this I record macro then I write here remove duplicates. For example, no need to record this. I mean, you can also do this manually. That's all up to you, but I'm just going to do it. Okay, what will happen? You record this macro. In this macro, you use the Control Shift right arrow and down arrow. This will select the entire data. The way, just come back and I just select A2, and from the A2 I just press Control Shift down arrow because I don't need the marks. I copy this and I go to the new sheet. I'm going to paste it here, and then I go to the data tab. From the data tab, I'm going to remove the duplicate. From the duplicate, I want to keep my header because header is required. Well, I think header is generally header you don't require also because you don't have to create that. So we can do one thing. We can simply write. I'm just going to actually remove it. 16 values are found, and this is how you're going to actually record this. So go ahead and stop the macro. Okay, now let's go back to the code and let's see. So this is the code, basically the remove duplicate. So in this line, first of all, we will delete those unwanted lines. I want to start with the A2, so I just delete these lines. Okay, so I'm now on the A2, and from the A2 also we can do one thing. We can keep this sheet on. So this sheet I can write here duplicates. Okay, so this we will keep it here so that every time you don't have to add the sheet. You can see here added the sheet. Instead of the adding the sheet, what we will do, first I go in the A2, which is A2 belongs to this sheet. Okay, that is your sheet 1. So we're going to do one thing. I'm going to first of all write here sheets macro did not record this, not a problem. So we're going to start with the sheet 1, and I'm going to select the sheet. Okay, now once I select the sheet, I'm going to go on the A2, and on the A2 I select this scroll down arrow, which is range selection comma selection dot end Excel down select, right? It is going to copy it, and once it is copied, we will not add the sheet because we will directly go in the sheet called VBA. I will select the sheet and I will go in the A1. I'm going to now paste the data over there. Okay, so in the A1 my data will be pasted here. Simple as that. Afterwards, let's see what is going to happen. So here you have header which says that remove the duplicate. Perfect. And then A2 is selected back. Perfect. One thing we want to do is, before we run this macro, you need to ensure that your data should be completely deleted. So I'm going to, because we would like to create it from the scratch, right? So I'm going to ensure that cells dot select, and I'm going to clear everything. Selection dot clear contents. This is your macro. If I run this, I'll show you this. First of all, it will create the entire stuff. Now it comes back to the sheet 1, go in the A2, select the data, copy the data, come back to the duplicate sheet. In the A1, it pastes the data, and then it's active sheet range A1 to A26. A1 to A26 because you have the data, if I just down, you're gonna see it 26, right? So may have new items, you may have a new data. So we can do one thing, we can always create this. Let's say I'm going to keep it 26 to 60. Okay, you can keep it maybe 2600 or maybe 10,000, 20,000, whatever you want to do. Anyways, this is going to remove the duplicates, and there we go. So you have the duplicates getting removed. Now the next part comes. What is the next part? Let's go ahead and form the arrays. Okay, so from here what I will do, I'm going to create here call function, which is, what is my function name? Dummy. I'm going to create here dummy, and let's give it a good name, actually. Create pivot, create underscore and pivot. So this macro is going to be called. From here the job will start. Now I'm going to name this as valid character. Let me remove the space. Yeah, that's it. And you go up and you're gonna give it a name called control underscore pivot. Okay, when this macro is going to be called, what we want to do is, I'm going to declare variant array, which is my array, dim my array. Okay, and dim my array as variant string, whatever you want to declare. Right now I can declare it as a string because I have the sheet names in the form of a text. So once this is done, I'm going to find the last row. Declare one more variable last row as long, and then last row would be equals to range, and then we're gonna have from, let's say, a 10,000, it should move upward. Okay, capture the just a second, dot end xlr row number. Okay, so this is what we need to do. We want to capture this row number, and then what we are going to do, we're going to form the array. So I'm going to write here reading. If you don't know what is a reading mode, go ahead and watch my video on the arrays. As I was talking about recently, I have uploaded that video. So I'm going to declare here reading my array because now I have got the last row, so I'm going to make it dynamic. So guys, here I will write the last row, and then we're going to declare it as a, you don't have to declare it again. Now this is going to run in this way. Now so when you run this, last row would come as 10. 10 means your array will start from the 0. So 0 to 10 means 11 times it will run. First of all, you need to understand you don't have to run it, 11 times. So I'm going to declare, I'm to actually subtract it from 1. Okay. Here in this line, we will fill in the values of the arrays, fill in the values of arrays. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to write here for I equals to, let's say, from lower bound of my array, which is lower bound function which tells you the lowest position of your array. I'm just going to tell you. So I'm going to write here my array, and then we're going to define it upper bound of my array, which is going to tell you the highest position of your array. So this is how your macro will run, and this is how you will have your array, the values coming in your array. So we're going to write here I equals to, and then cells I plus 1 because I starts with the 1. So I'm going to add here 2 so that it should start with the A, okay, not the row 1, because we don't need the header. The column will remain as it is, value, and that's it. So now let's go ahead and quickly and let's get this out. So first of all, we'll start with the duplicate. So I'm going to run this. We go, we have everything, the duplicates are removed. Now this is going to go in the create pivot. Variable not defined, which variable is not defined? Okay, so I forgot to declare I, so you can declare here I as long. Okay, now I is created, and I'm going to press F8. Okay, so variable not defined, there is another variable. All right, so my sheet name is also not defined. I'm just going to define my sheet name, as string. Okay. This is going to be a little lengthy video, I understand, right? Then you will get the benefit also. I'm sure you will love this video. You will not say that, Ajay, you have wasted our time. Seriously. Let me know if that happens. Trust me, I can remove that video. Seriously. Because I upload the videos, I simply ensure that, because you guys are coming on the channel and spending the time, and you should have some good learning, right? So that's always my focus. So I'm gonna start this F8 now. Last row is picked up, is which has to be, let's just go ahead and put watch on this. Let me see what is it. It's gonna be 10. Perfect. Now 10 minus 1 will make it 9. 9 means that this array, let me put the watch code on this as well. You see, my array comes here, but it doesn't have any sign because right now we haven't run this redeem line. The moment we run this line, you are going to give the dimension your array, which is going to be minus 1, 9. The moment I run this plus sign comes, and here now we have the array 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the positions. This array is empty, and we're going to fill it quickly. As I said, this lower bound function, actually this is a function which returns the lowest position of your array. Lowest position means this index actually 0. As you know, it is actually 0. This loop is going to run from I equals to 0 to upper bound, right? The upper bound actually is your highest position, which is going to be 9. So it has to run 0 to 9. So what will happen when you run this I this is going to be 0 right away, because I starts with a 0. I can put the actually watch code on this as well, just to show you. Just click here. You see that my arrow 0 is going to be what? Plus 2. that makes it 2. So it's gonna pick up the second row and the first column, which is A, right? Next, this is going to run again. I is now, you can see here, it's 1, 2. A, we have now B, and then C, and then D, E, F, G, H, and J. And I guess there's one more, and it's not there, I believe. So it's going to give me the error subscript out of a range, or it didn't give me error, but the problem is it actually filled the array with the space, and this is not required. So 0 to 8 I need. Okay, so I think it's because of the header. So we can do one thing, we can subtract 2 from it. Not a big deal, right? Because I have to fill, how many items I'm filling here, by the way? 9. 9 means 0 to 8 because it starts with 0. So that's why last row, which is coming as 10, we should subtract from it, right? So let me reset the code and let's go ahead and run the code again. Okay, so we're gonna run it again from here. So I run this, everything is going to be cleared. As you can see, we will have this. So I have my array. I want to show you the array, how it is going to form. There we go, there we go. So this is perfect. Got the Ajay, the last item, and that's it. Now from here, actually the story starts, guys. The real story, actually, the real fun, right? Now what will happen, what you need to do here, in this with active sheet, where you have written this the pivot table and the pivot number, right? So copy this and first of all paste here as well, because there's no pivot table 13 now, right? It starts with what? It starts with 22, and that comes from this variable, which is pivot number. So it's gonna be making this kind of a pivot. Okay, so pivot table number is there, but with this pivot, what we need to do is you got to put the condition here. I'll tell you what is the condition. These all items we will have to cover. So you know, these all items are going to be, uh, shown up in your array. So here what we will do is we will write here the sheet name, my sheet name. Okay, or maybe you can write first the array name, which uh, is your array. Just scroll it up. Your array is actually my array. That's the name of your array, right? So here we will write my array, and then we're going to write I. Okay, we're going to do the comparison. If my array equals to, not equals to, I would say, not equals to my sheet name. Sheet name, where you are storing the sheet name, you are storing the sheet name, the variable called my sheet. If it is not equals to then this, then what should happen? Well, then whatever the name, the item you have in your array, that should be actually, we are going to make it invisible. So here in this Ajay is one of the item of my pivot. Here we're gonna use the array, my I. So I'm gonna use this my array I over here. Okay, that's it. And we don't need these lines. Okay, I'll just delete that. Now run the loop here. So how many times you need to run the loop? Again, the number of times you have the arrays, because arrays actually are going holding your all the pivot items. So we can write here again the same loop for I equals to, let me just copy it quickly from a line. We're gonna run this for 8 times or 9 times or whatever it is, and one by one the array is going to check everything. This is really very fussy video, I can say that, very requirement. Thank you so much, Alan, for putting up such a wonderful question. So guys, here we're gonna do one thing. So I is going to obviously start with the 0. So here we will say that if the 0 not equals to this, if it is not equals to this, then make it false. Okay, otherwise what you need to do, otherwise I think you don't have to do anything. Just write here else and if. Don't do anything here, don't do anything, don't do anything, and we're going to write here end if. That's it, right? I guess this is right now looking nice to me. I think this should work. Anyways, we can check this, not a problem. If we will have a problem, okay, yes, we can control it, right? So go ahead and let me put the watch code here quickly, and so that we can run the code fast. And I'm gonna run this from here, because this is the first line you're gonna run. So I press F5, and there we go. Everything happened. Every item is removed, duplicates are removed, and now we are on the sheet, and you see that the array is also there. So array is there. The code start for each worksheet in worksheet. Right now you're on the duplicate sheet, guys. So you're on the duplicate sheet. This is WS.select. WS is your worksheet, right? As I said, you got to have a good understanding on the collection loops. If you don't know that, the Excel VBA collections playlist, and you can find out the videos there. So this is going to select the first sheet. Once the first sheet is selected, this sheet name variable is going to hold that sheet name. This my sheet name now going to hold what is going to hold the name A. So if I just show you here, my sheet name looks now has a value called A. Now here, what I will do in the A one, obviously I will go and first of all I'm going to make it all. Right? You can see that it also changed. Now everything is selected. Okay? It comes back all. Now one by one we are going to off things we don't need. So here we are seeing that in the pivot table, the pivot number is obviously, the pivot number, the pivot table number is 40. What we have written actually, we have written 22, pivot table 22. So this should not give us any error. Let me run this and there we go. There's no error because this pivot number is verified here, right? And I just want to check one thing. Just give me a second. Yeah, all looks good, pretty good. Okay. Now here I'm gonna run this. What is the my array one value? Okay, my array one, if I just again put this as well in the watch code, you know that I is going to start with the 0. 0 means that we are going to refer the A sheet. So sheet, my sheet name variable also holds A and my array I also holds A. That means condition which you have said that they are not equals to, then go here and make them invisible. It's visible equals to false means make them invisible. Is not gonna be true. Your condition will fail and it will go in the else mode, and this is what we need, right? Then else and if next turn the next I, which is going to be 1. Now in this my array 1 you can see that it is B. You certainly know that B is not equals to A. The condition is true. If the condition is true, then there we go, guys. This item has to be invisible. Why? Because it is meeting up the criteria. So now you know my array I actually is B. So what will happen in your pivot here, that is going to be, no, we're going to make it invisible. We are going to uncheck it basically. Uncheck is the right word. So you're gonna run it. Now you see that it says multiple. Multiple means that if you just go and check list over here, you would see that the B is unchecked. Oh wow, I'm just loving this, guys. B is unchecked, guys. B is unchecked because B is now invisible. You have said there visible is gonna be true, false. So this is what we are doing, guys. This is amazing, right? How cleverly we are controlling the pivot. Now it is not the end of the series because now you still have more values to come. So when you do the next, now what is the next value in the I? It is C. Again, C is not equals to the sheet name A. So if the sheet name A is not there, then we would like to make all the elements invisible. So actually what will happen, this keeps on running. You can see here is also coming and then F is also coming. All are actually getting invisible, right? And then and then G. So one more time, this is the last time it is running because now your array is holding J, which is on the 8th position. So Aj is also going to be invisible and then we are through. Just to show you before we go further, let's see how the pivot is gonna look like. Wow, amazing. Only the A is selected. Now we got to put this A. If you remember what we did, we then next step which we recorded in the macro, we went in the show field list and we dragged this name in the rows part. And this is what the coding is going to do now because the code is still not over, right? So here, don't run this code because pivot table 13 is going to give you the error. This is not the pivot table 13. This is the pivot table number. I again forget 22, right? So you're gonna again right here, you're gonna join this pivot table number with uh, and then what is the name? The variable is pivot number. Okay, so now we're gonna work on this pivot number coming as 22, and we're gonna work on this pivot, right? um, okay, so now what it says, you got to see this enable multiple page items true. Well, whatever it is, I mean, not just get into that. First of all, go ahead and first of all see this, what is going to happen. So active show pivot field list, pivot table field list is going to show up. With this pivot table, again you will have to write here pivot table number. So I'm going to write here pvt number. Okay, so let me just copy this. Okay, look at this. Oh, I actually reset the code, but not a problem. Let me put the code here and run the code again. Let me reset the code again. So this time I will be very quick because you have seen the everything. So I go here again, and from here I'm going to run this. We go, there we go, we go, we go, there we go, there we go. This is also going to run. Let me quickly press F5 and there we go. Now you have everything perfect, and what we're going to do is so when I run this orientation is Excel row field. Excel row field means that it's gonna put that name which is right now check marked and which is a item. It's gonna put that the Excel row field. If you remember the row field, right? If you don't remember it, this is the row field. So this name is gonna come over here. If I'm gonna run this line, see what will happen. Here we go. You can see in the pivot. Wow, this is amazing. See that job is done, guys. What else you need? It, right? So this is your code, and now you don't have to go to any other sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to delete the entire code. This code will work for all the sheets. So let's just reset the code. We don't care. I'm going to delete the code. This is what we are going to do. Okay, let me just remove this. Now what is going to happen the next time when you're going to run the code? So you can keep this A1 as well. The next time, obviously, when this code will run, because you're using the for each worksheet, in the worksheet what will happen, it will go in the next sheet, and the same step is going to be again repeated, right? So one thing which we need to do is here the sheet comes, the sheet 1, when this actually sheet 1 comes, we would like to exit. So this macro should run the time we don't have the sheet 1. So I'm going to write here that if here, or maybe you can write here that if my sheet name is not equals to sheet 1, whatever name you have, then do all this, then keep running like this, right? Otherwise the sheet name is going to be coming as sheet 1, and you can write here exit from the macro. We don't need that because once we are on the sheet 1, we're not gonna use it. So here I can write the end if. Okay, so this is the perfect example of loops with the if conditions, and also how you actually got the pivot. I think this is one of the best video I'm recording right now. There are some videos which are like gold, for me, for you. This is one of that video. It is involving so many things. Arrays. I mean, arrays are beautiful. Just love them. So we have everything here. We have the loops, we have the arrays, we have the if conditions, we have the pivot. What you need. It's perfect. Now, important point. The next time you go to the next sheet, Ajay, your pivot, it's gonna be changed. So here pivot table which you have written here, pivot table equals to 22. Remember, don't forget to change this line. Next time when it goes in the next line, it should be actually pivot table -1. That it should not give you the error. And then next time this pivot number is going to be 23. Okay, 23. Yeah, 21 actually. 21 and then 20 and then so on. 19, 18, and how it is, right? So let's go ahead and run the code quickly. So again, I'm going to run this. So first of all, from here we're going to start. We go. Let's see if we are able to do this time. So I'm going to run this. There we go. Duplicates list are coming here. You have all the items coming here. Perfect. Now you're going to form the array. I can show you the array again. Once again, we can see we run this quickly. So we have got all the arrays. Now this is going to run. So we have the range 1, and in the range 1 now we're going to run this 8, unable to set the current page property. Okay, my mistake actually. Again, I have to reset the code because this is already in the format which we wanted. This last time when we ran the macro, it corrected it. So first of all, you got to change the format also. My bad. So just forgive me there. I'm just gonna on the all. This is how the original macro was like, and that's why we're getting the error. And same for this as well. I'll make it this all actually, and yeah, I think that's fine, right? This was actually A, like this, and this was, I think, yeah, this was actually A, and it selected like this. I'm just going back in the original pivot, right? I can do also one thing. Instead of doing all this stuff, what is a big deal? I can delete everything. Let me select all the sheets and delete them and create the pivot quickly. And in this way, I'm going to tell you one more thing. You have the pivot here, and you know what you need to do. You just need to go to the analyze and you need to click the option and show report filter pages. When you're going to create the filter pages, what will happen? The sheets will be created, but this time, guys, your pivot will start from the 31. Look at this pivot table 31. Here you have the 31 and then 30, and then in the next sheet is going to have the 39. So this time I have to start from 31. So I'm going to start here from the 31. Some of you must be wondering that how to take care of that point. We can cover that after this. First let's just achieve this. Simply write here pivot number 1 equals to, you can connect it with any sheet. Maybe you can write here manually. You can tell the user to write here number which has the highest pivot index. He writes here 33 and you can link that 33 with that sheet using the change L1 command. Simple. There is another way also which we are going to do, how to automate this. User doesn't even have to write this. So first of all, let us go ahead and let's run the code again. So I'm going to run this code again, and so I come here and I run this quickly. See, there we go. We have the array here now. I want to show you the array. Array is filled. You can see here. So now my array I is we see that my array I equals to cells I. Everything looks good to me. See, right? So we are on the first sheet, and here this pivot number is going to be what? It is going to be 31, right? So we should not have any problem. You see that your array is A is equals to A, so it should skip in the else mode, and then rest of the items all are going to be false. So let me quickly run this. There we go, there we go, there we go. And finally, when we are through, next time it is going to, the active sheet, the pivot table, the same pivot table, it's going to show this name, the multiple page items. So just run this. This line is not so important. The next line is important, which is this line. The active sheet pivot table, pivot table name is pivot table, and when you join it with the pivot number, it is going to be, I think the 42, 43, whatever you have given. Let me see, 31 actually. So this is the pivot table 31, and orientation has to be Excel row field. For which field? The name field, which is here. So it's going to simply drag this here. This is what we need. Perfect. Right? And if now the pivot table number is incremented, right? Now the next pivot number would be what? It's going to be 30. So now new worksheet is going to be selected, guys, because we are running the for each worksheet. So I'm on the Ajay now. On the Ajay, it is again going to run. So let me just run this and let me just close this. Okay, here we're gonna run this. What is my sheet name? Remember, it's Ajay now. Okay, this my sheet name variable holds the ws dot name, the active sheet name. So now we are again putting the condition if sheet name is not equals to sheet 1, and do this. So you know that the sheet name is not sheet 1, it is Ajay. So definitely condition meets, and you're going to run this entire code again. So I select the A1. Now the pivot table and the pivot number is going to be 30. So this is what exactly, if you go to the developer tab, analyze tab, you see that this is the pivot table 30. So everything looks good, right? You can put the watch code on this as well, if just in case if you want to see. Watch code here, have the pivot table 30. So it is going to select all. You can see in the all, it has selected. Now this pivot table is 30. It's gonna in run the loop. You can see here the first array is what is the array? It's actually A. A is certainly not equals to Ajay. What will happen? It's gonna make it invisible. See, I've written dot visible equals to false. So that's gonna happen. You can see it started working because multiple items is coming now. So we will run this loop quickly and everything is going to run. You can see that my sheet name is Ajay and my array actually is B. So next time it is C, it will still work. So it keeps on working. Keep your eye here. The moment you have here Ajay, we have the H is also going to be invisible, and the last one is now Ajay. Ajay is actually equals to Ajay, the condition fails, and this time the Ajay is not gonna, this then part is not going to be executed, so we have the else mode. That's it. And if end with, and now if you look at this, what will happen? Ajay should be here, should be check marked, and this is what exactly we need. Perfect. going so good, guys. Right? So now with this, you know what is the next thing? It's gonna simply put that the orientation is going to be the Excel row field, and there we go, have it. And I think now the code should work. Let's quickly run this, guys. Now pivot table again is going to be reduced, which is 29. The next sheet is going to be selected, which is B. So I keep on running this code. Let me see this, if it is going good or not. There we go, there we go, we go, we go, go, there we go, and there we go. So we have the B sheet here. Wow, nice. All right, I'm gonna run this quickly again. So let's keep on running this, because every procedure is going to run the same way. I would like to see that what will happen when you are going to cross the sheet edge. Okay, so there we go. Now we are on the edge, sorry, on the G actually. Now run this, we go. Yes, the last one. Now I'm gonna run this on the edge. Right, so now run this as well, run this, fit, and there we go. Right, we got the edge as well. Now pivot table number is still reduced. Pivot table is now 22. You know, there is no pivot table 22. We don't need that, because you know what will happen, what should happen ideally. Here have your sheet name variable as coming as sheet 1. There I have put the condition that if the sheet is going to be equals to sheet 1, not going to be equals to sheet 1, then execute this time. Sheet name also is sheet 1, so the condition fails. Now it should go to the else mode. It should not do anything. So if I run this, should actually stop here in the else mode. Let me see. Before I do that, I just checked if is a case sensitive. So do one thing, making sure that you should have a spelling, same spelling. So this is how. If is so far I have come to know in the Excel VBA that it is a case sensitive. Otherwise, all the whatever you write functions, the codes, they are case insensitive. Okay, so this will happen, and there we go. We are in the else, and now the macro should stop. And before the macro should stop, why don't we just write here the message box that I'm done. I'm done, boss. You have done a good job, right? So we're gonna just run like this. So this is how you can create this macro, guys. Okay. So that's how the macro is going to be created. And now we are gonna test a couple of things which are very important. If you have some more additions in your table, for example, B is replaced with the BP, okay, B is replaced with the CC, and I'm gonna add some more numbers over here. Let's say I'm gonna add here one more, which is, let's say, alam. I'm gonna add some number here. Now this should also be coming in your pivot, isn't it? If this works, then that means XYZ. Let me add, and let me add one more name, Donald. I'm gonna add some numbers here. Okay, so now let us see what will happen. I have to delete all the sheets. We're going to delete everything, and let's do the testing. Let's now make a good code, not in a hurry. We're learning something very nice. So we'll start the code from here. I'm going to first of all see how it is going to work. Look at this. First of all, the sheet will be selected and everything will be deleted. Very nice. We go back in the sheet 1 from the A2. It's going to select the entire table. So when the entire table gets selected, the new values will also be selected. So this is a very good line. This is a control down arrow which you use in your Excel, to select the entire table. Copy this, and I in the duplicate sheet. Here the data is pasted and the duplicates are going to be removed. Remember, I have kept the range 60. So you see that new range is coming with column XYZ and Donald, and of course PNCC is also there, which we have modified. Perfect, right? So in this way, now what will happen? Now once you have, this thing created, so this basically one step which we missed, which was, first of all, before you run this macro, you have to actually hit the pivot also, because this time the pivot must be having a different range. So you go to the design. As I said, you can record this in the macro also, right? This is simply to create the pivot. So when you go to the change data source, I want to see that what is my data. So my data actually is to 27, and you see that I have actually the data till 30. So I'm gonna keep it 30 like this, right? Okay. To press OK, now let me first of all check if I have all the entries here. So everything are there, they're coming. Nice. So I go to the analyze, and I just first of all create the report filter page. Now this you can record. I am again saying, right, that's your job, you can do that. That's very easy. Record the macro and you will be able to do it. Click OK and all the sheets are created. Nice. My job now will actually start. So let's go ahead and now actually, you can see that here the pivots look like the same, and we want to put it here. So now we're going to run this macro. So I just go here and I'm going to run this quickly. There we go. You have all the list coming here. The array is going to create. So we'll have now array. You can see here the array. This time the array actually is looking bigger. It can hold 14 numbers and makes sense because you have here 14 numbers also, excluding the header. We're going to run this. Let's see. We are going to capture this. There we go. See that all that is coming here. Very nice. We have Alam, XYZ, and the last one is Donald. Oh, great. Everything is there, guys. Now I'm gonna run this quickly. There we go. Unable to get the property. Yeah, that's the point I was talking about. Now the pivot number again is changed. I have to change the pivot number, right? So I'm gonna keep my pivot number here as 31. First of all, I have to check. Let me see if I go to the analyze. This is the 45. The pivot table is 45. So I will have to start my value from the 45. Now I was telling you that how you can automate this. Every time you can't do that. So you can run the loop. You can capture the example here. You can clear here pvt. The pvt is already declared, which is where you have declared the pvt. I want to see that actually. Yeah, so here you have declared the pvt. So run the collection loop here for pivots, for each pivot, okay, to get the highest pivot number. So you have the another loop is coming here for each pvt in, for each pvt in uh, well, for each pvt in actually your the worksheets basically you will have to write. So what we're going to do is I'm going to write here active sheet dot pivots. This is how the code is going to run. Okay, and here I'm going to hold a variable which is pivot number, and I'm going to say that it should be the pivot uh, you know the pivot name. So you write here the pivot name pt and uh, name. So this is how your loop should work. And one more thing I want to see here, where I have declared my pivot, I want to declare it on the top. So pivot is declared, is the my pivot. So pivot is not declared actually. So we will have to declare a pivot to run this loop. So I'm going to declare it as a pivot. Pivot is a class actually which we use. Remember that, right? So pivot is there. Now you can see that if I just press the dot pvt, pvt basically the pvt no, pvt dot name. Alright, so my mistake actually. It is not pivot. It is pivot table. Declare the pivot table, and now if I press the dot, the name should come. There we go. Yes. All right. So now what we actually want to do is, if I just run this code, uh, first of all, I will also ensure I should be on the sheet 1. Okay. Because sheet 1 would be the sheet where you will have the maximum pivot when you click the pivot. All right. So we would like to see the pivot name there. Okay. So now run the code again. Let me see. Here we go. We deleted everything. Now we have the array here, so we're gonna form the array. Let me click here. Got all the arrays. Perfect. Okay. This is the important line. I'm gonna select the sheet 1, right? The sheet 1 will have my pivot with the highest index. When I do that, this loop will run for each pivot. Okay, object doesn't support this property. So it's actually pivot tables. Okay, when I run this, you should see the pivot name here. Type mismatch. All right, why are we getting the type mismatch? Getting the type mismatch because of the reason actually the pivot number is a variable which is declared as a long. Pivot name is obviously going to be a string, right? So what we can do is we can go ahead and create this number 2 variable, okay? And I'm gonna create here pivot number 2 as string because pivot names are always in the string, okay? So now when I reset the code, let me run this again from here because long cannot accept the string value. So when you're gonna run this, let me press maybe I can put the play code here just to run this code faster. Now we should have a number. So what is the pivot name now? Let's see. So I'm gonna put the watch here. Let's see what it is going to give me. So you can see that it gives me the pivot table 45, guys. Perfect. Now this pivot table 45, there are n number of ways. What you can do, you can replace this pivot table 5 here. So now before I let me run this F8. You see in the active sheet there is just one pivot, right? So you don't have to go to the next sheet because this sheet will have maximum pivot number. So once you have that, you will do instead of this pivot table 45, let us do one thing. Let us replace this pivot number 2 where you will see the pivot table 45. You will replace, you will find the pivot table here, pivot table. This pivot table pivot tables are always fixed with this pivot table naming convention. So I'm trying to replace actually the pivot table from the pivot table 45 so that we can see the 45 only. So we're gonna find this pivot table and we're gonna replace it with what? Nothing. This is how we write. Right? This is I'm using the VBA function here. I wasn't expecting. So you have the now function also. Now when you run this, let's see what we're gonna get. Okay, again you're getting the type mismatch. Now you're getting the type mismatch because of the reason that basically when this replacement will happen, 45 actually will come in the form of a string, right? So I can do one thing, I can change this to a variant. Let the VBA decide what data type it has to give, because if you declare it as an integer, it has to come as an integer. Or maybe we can do one thing, if I just keep it as a integer only, if I multiply this output with the 1, to see that what output would come, because when you multiply something with the 1, output result also never changes, the value remains same, and automatically the number is coming as a string, as a text, they revert back to the number format. But we will have to see. Let's go ahead and run the code again. I'm going to press F5 quickly this time. Code stops here, and let's see now. You got the pivot table 45, perfect, and run this line now. Okay, so it's still actually it's not working basically. So let's do one thing. I'm going to pivot table. You can do one thing. Declare this as a variant, and we will have to see if that is going to work in the next line or not, because the reason is because here the pivot number should be a number. We have to see what is going to work. So let's go ahead and run the code again. I'm gonna run the code again. Let me press F5. Here we go. The code stops here. Now pivot number comes as pivot table 45. Now this time it worked, because pivot number basically is your variant. So I would like to see the pivot number also here. What is the pivot number basically coming? It's coming pivot table 45. So basically not replace pivot table. I have to see, maybe it's a spelling mistake. It has to be pivot table. Okay, let me run this again, because you see that pivot number, it's coming pivot table 45. So pivot table 45 should not come, right? It should be 45. That was my idea. So if I just run this again, let me see, maybe because of this oh yes, you got the 45, right? So once you have the 45, this now should work. Let's see. Okay, here we go. It's gonna work, like I think it's working. Let me see. Okay, it's a long code actually. So we have the A here. You can see that A is coming. Go. We got it, guys. Now I'm gonna press F5. Here we go. Here we go. You see the code works. I'm done, boss. Thank you so much. You have taken a lot of time. It's fine. I'm not frustrated because I know my job is done. Oh wow. Wow. Look at this, guys. Look at this. You beat that. Everything is coming now. So just one thing more. Let's delete everything. Okay. Let's delete everything and run the code again. Now this time what I'm gonna do, uh, I will keep the data same. That's fine. You can, if you have a, if you want to do changes, you can. But my focus is the next time I create the pivot, will my code work? This pivot number will be different. So I go to the option and I on the show report filter pages. Okay, and I'm gonna click OK. Here we go. The sheets are created. It's very simple. The pivot table starts with the 59. I'm not going to change my code at all. And so I'm gonna run the code here. From here, I remove the code, everything. I put the, in the sheet one actually here. Insert the code. I insert the button. So this is how. And I just go ahead and click on the sign macro. And we're going to create here the remove duplicate. Okay. Let's go ahead and see the magic. All right, it's going. Yes, it is done. Have a look. Wow, this is perfect, guys. It worked actually. It really worked, right? So you see that how, I won't say easy, but we have done it. We really need, what we actually did in this. We use the pivot functions. This is a function, replace is a function which we did to capture the pivot number automatically. We ran the collection loop. Two loops we ran. We did that for each pivot in pivots and then for each worksheet in worksheet. Right. This is the code in front of you. You can pause the video and you can see that. And then afterwards, let me scroll it down. This is the second code. Right. This is the second part of the code. I mean, pause the video. You can see here. And then if I'm going to show you this one, this is how this was the duplicate code actually. Remove the duplicate. So indeed, it's a very fine code. It took a lot of time for us to deal with this, but then I think it has its own fun. I don't think so. You would feel that time is wasted. I've done such a tremendous thing here, right? So this is the loop for the pivot basically. Maybe this line actually is going to give us the pivot name. Once we have the pivot name, we are actually using that pivot name from the pivot. This pivot name always comes with the number. Pivot name, pivot table 1, pivot table 3, pivot table 4, and so that. So we are replacing the pivot table from this number 2. Mismatch was coming because I was using it as an integer. As an integer, it was not accepting because when it replaces the pivot table from the pivot table, let's say 43, 43 was coming as a string. So maybe you can write here string also. I think it should work, but the variant means leave VBA. You can watch my video also, the Excel VBA introduction series about it, right? And arrays, I mean, that's fantastic. This is really a very good use of the arrays. How we actually heavily all the other items on the false mode. That's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for your time, and keep coming back. Keep posting your questions and whatever you think about the video. We'll meet very soon with some another exciting stuff. Till then, you take care of yourself and have a fantastic learning. Thank you so much.